Okay, so here we go. We're going to start this process, and if you guys saw my last video, we did an unboxing, and I am not in my workshop. I want to show you guys how you can do this just in your own home without making a huge mess, using what came with the guitar. This is a $78 kit off of eBay, and it's not bad, and as you can see, it's not drilled out even for the bridge or the saddle. So we're going to do that. It doesn't look bad. It really doesn't. I'm kind of impressed with it. No, it needs cleaning up. When I say it's not the best, well, it needs cleaning up, and that's my job. Let's make it nice. Let's get a majority of the sanding done. Be very careful on these veneered tops. You don't want to go through, so we're going to scuff lightly. Some places we might have to use a little filler because we got some deep, I say deep, they're not too deep. And I think I can sand down and still be safe. Let's see how far we can go. The first thing we're going to do is raise the grain. So let's do that, and I'm going to do that with a paper towel and a light paper towel that's damp with some water. Okay, so we just dip this in the water a little bit, just a little dampness, and I'm going to run it over this grain here. And it doesn't take a lot. We're just, let me get up next to the binding also. And this will just cause the grain to lift just a little bit. And what I'm starting with here, and I might even be finished with it, depending on how it is. This is a fine scuff. This is a 220 grit, and I'm putting it just over a piece here. So it's soft, and we're going to start sanding. And what I'd like to do is take care of these bad spots first if I can. And we want to smooth out all of our edges. We don't want any surprises. We want our binding to meet nice and smooth. And that water does lift the grain a lot, and I can feel already the smoothness coming just already. So it doesn't take a lot. You don't need a lot of pressure. Some people spend a lot of time in the sanding department. But I'll tell you, if you're going to clear your guitar, it's best to underdo it rather than overdo it. Now, as you sand, you may see more imperfections, and that's what I'm seeing now. But so what I'm doing right now, if you're wondering, is I'm actually sanding down the binding and making the binding flush with the veneer, because it's not. And that binding will still pop once we get the clear on it. And just take care and do portions at a time. But we do not want to sand through the veneer. Now this is the worst spot on the guitar, right here. I'm going to take some care. Hopefully we don't go through it. And we're going to work our way around. Now this appears to be really close to book matched too. And we got a little bit of the paper towel right here. We got a small imperfection here. And I don't know if you guys can see this, just that little bit that I'm doing, really coming into play already. Really working out. Okay, I don't think you can tell very well in this light, but a lot smoother, a lot better. We do have a spot that started getting a little thin right there, but that's going to be fine once we get our stain on. And if you want to, you can go inside and you can clean up your edges to make them not so ugly where your pickups go. And clean up your holes real quick. Just so it's not such an eyesore, even though you're not going to see it. I like to clean them up real quick. All it takes is a couple passes. Most of the imperfections are gone. I went as far as I dare to go without removing the top, but it looks a lot better. Now we move on to the rest of the body, which we don't have to be as careful with because, well, it's not a veneer on the back. So let's start that process. Same thing. We're going to start with a sanding block and then move to doing it by hand. Smoothing out the curves, taking off any glue that is there. And you can do this a bit more aggressively. Clean up your edges where your covers are going to be. And already a smooth surface. Now I'm not going to raise the grain yet. I'm going to knock it down on the back, then we'll raise the grain. Okay, so you get the gist. Let me finish the back and then we'll go to the edges. Okay, so we got our back pretty much sanded. Now I haven't raised the grain on it yet, so it's going to get done again. But I'm going around the edges here, making sure there's no edge on the edges and they're smooth and rounded over. There's nothing worse than a sharp edge on a guitar, and you want to be careful right here on the horn. That's where you really want to make sure that it blends in nicely, nice and smooth. And I do this part by hand, not using the block for this. And just go by feel. Knock it down. There's some imperfections in the back here, but we can take that down quickly, very quickly. That quickly, but we want to make sure this edge right here, right there, is not sharp. So let's knock that down real quick. Doesn't take a lot. Roll it over, blend it in so it looks like it's supposed to be that way. And kind of around the edge of the binding around a little bit too. Now we want to get up in here. This is the last part, and then we're going to do the whole thing again, but raise the grain into it. Pretty much all that down. I'm going to clean up these the covers go, just the edges. I'm not going to worry about the inside too much. I'm going to use some shielding in there, some shielding paint before we're done. And they just knock down really fast and easy, so don't want to overdo it. We'll test fit the covers later on. Make sure they fit okay, and we don't have to sand anything else out. What we do, the reason you knock these down too is so you don't ever get a chunk or a sliver taken off. Because if they're sharp edges, they run the risk of splintering. We don't want that. Okay, dampen our rag, give it a wipe down, and when you do this, the color will change, and you can see if you have any imperfections too. I see one already. Kind of knew it was there, but and two. Well, you can see what it's going to look like if it was taking a stain now, right? Not too bad. Let's raise that grain a little damper. Raise that grain. Okay, now we did that. And we are going to go back. And I'm going to take some fresh sandpaper. I'm going to use my hand. And now I can feel the grain is lifting. And if you have cosmetic blemishes in the wood, it makes it unique. So what I mean by that is I mean blemishes that you can't fix with sanding. Blemishes that are part of the wood, well, a lot of people would consider them blemishes. It's what makes the wood kind of unique. Get our base surface here. pick that up on camera, how it's changing, looking more depth, more green. As we knock down that rays from the water, it takes a whole different look. But look at the difference in the grain. Now let's get our edge. And I sand right into the binding. Pay attention to inside your curves, because it's a really easy part to miss, and it's very noticeable in light if it's not sanded. I know this video is going to be long, but I want to give you guys an idea of what it's like. Let me finish this part up and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so most of the sanding is complete, and keep in mind we still have to do more sanding. So, when I say we have to do more sanding, well, we got to stain this thing. And I'll tell you, I mean, this is an inexpensive kit. This isn't like a solid piece of wood. It's actually plied. So you want to be careful with how you do this and approach this. But it's still a cool guitar. So, what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to clean our surface off a bit here. Make sure everything's kind of where we need it. And I'm not going to go any farther on this top, simply because it I don't want to go through. So what do you say we experiment with some stains now? Let's try some stains and see exactly what we can do. Now, I've never stained a guitar before, so this is going to be a first for me. However, I'm going to do what I think would work good. So I'm going to tape off this binding, and let's see how good we can make this thing work. And I know I keep coming back and touching up things, but hey, you know. What gets me is how easily this binding sands. And I do like that. Okay, let me mix up some special brew and we'll start staining. So we have the binding taped up, and I actually come up with a name for the guitar. And we're going to call this guitar Old Number 47 because, well, I guess it's number 47. So that's the theme we're going to roll with this with. So Old Number 47. I'm not worried about the edge binding because it's going to get sanded back down to white. Let's get some black on here. And then to bring out that flame top. So I mixed up some food coloring. Yes, food coloring. A trick we used to do with drums. Food coloring. Let me see if I can find my gloves. And what I'm doing is just folding up a paper towel. And as you can see, we got some black food coloring and some water over here. I'm not sure really the mixture. We're going to go a little light. And we're going to see. Let's see, that's almost a blue, right? Which is very pretty. Very pretty color blue. But it's not going to stay blue because we're going to sand this. I don't want to put it on too thick here. We're going to sand this, and I'm hoping that's not glue, because if it is, then I got to go back and do that again. And it appears to be, it might be glue. So okay, I'm going to let this sit for a second, And this is also raising the grain, as you can see. And then we're going to go back through and sand. We're going to do some experimentation with this guitar, so I'll let that dry for a second. Come back, let it dry. Looks really cool right now, doesn't it, guys? That's not the color it's going to be, though. This is just the first step. And I know you guys think that looks amazing, but, I mean, it does look pretty cool, except for this section here. And I want to say that that's glue in there, but I'm not really sure. Right there. Sorry guys, I got carried away. I thought the camera was rolling, and I'm applying my outside base color. And I'm applying it pretty thick. Okay. Now we're going to change up colors, guys. And we have two here. We have lemon and buttercup. And I am thinking we do a buttercup into the lemon. Let's see how this works out here. So I'm going to try not, maybe we should mix it. Let's mix it with some water to see what we got first. And then I'd rather underdo it than overdo it. So, let's see what we got here. Block this on here. Maybe. I can get in here. Let's see what we can do. Reverse this in a little bit here. And what we do is we're going to blend this, and I'm going to blend it and get it wet. Blend it in with the black. I hope you guys can see that green coming out. Fade it in a little bit. We're going to have to do something right definitely here. The blue's not staying, guys. This is just a back color. But now we're going to get into a whole different color, which is going to be a lemon yellow. And I think I'm going to lay the lemon yellow on heavy. So let me cut that open. And I'm going to lay this lemon just like this. Yes. Blend this all together. hope you guys are getting the gist of the old school look I'm going for here. And I do have a spot that I'm going to have to contend with. Let that tiger come out. Let that tiger come out. There we go. Now, I think on camera it's looking a little bit green, but it's not. Very cool, right? So I'm going to have to contend with this spot over here. Definitely. So let's see what we got going on. I'm going to work on some sanding that, and I'll be right back. So, very unique. I know this looks like it's, it looks like it's more green on camera for some reason, but there's a lot of yellow to this, and I wonder if it has to do with the tape that's around the edge. We're going to do some sanding on this after this sits for a little bit, and I'm blending. We blend. Sometimes I use my fingers to blend. You can see that green come out. So that's what I'm doing. Blending, blending, man, blending. So here we go. We'll let this dry, and then we come back and we sand again. And then we do the back, whatever color I decide to do. And it's going to require, of course, more and more sanding, and there's debris on it right now because it's sitting. You get an idea of the type of burst I was going for. And it's more it's yellow now, as I hope you can see. That green tape on the side makes everything appear green, but it's going to be very unique. So let's get this finished, and I'll see you in a minute. Well, here we are. I'm still laughing right now because it looks so green on camera right now, and it's yellow. It's almost a dandelion yellow in the middle. But on camera I'm laughing because it's green. A lot of that's the light that I have on it. I figured out. But, and I hope you bear with me because I'm cooking dinner in the background and sharing my evening with you. We're experimenting. This is an experimentation guitar, and we are going to also use some wood finish with this. Now, wood finish, this is an espresso. And I want to add espresso on top of this to make it kind of a tobacco color. That's my goal anyhow. So if it works, I don't know. I've never done it. It's something I've always wanted to try. So I'm going to try it right now. And we're going to open up this can of espresso. And I want to do this kind of before it's fully dry to make it blend. This is this is the color that the back of the guitar is going to be entirely, and as well as the neck, which we have not sanded yet. So, let's get, I know it's messy, but I like to use paper towels, and I don't care if it gets on my hands, because that's the name of the game, right? So, let's take a little bit of this espresso. Get this up here. I'm going to get that on this paper towel, and we're going to rub this espresso into the edge. And this is a stain, so let's start with the edge. And this should really blend everything quite nicely. At least it does on other woods, but I've never done it with these colors before. So that's what I'm trying to do. A little espresso, a little blending. Run it right over here. Espresso, come on. There we go. Now let's put the espresso on the guitar. We'll sand it in a little bit. Yes, that's the look I'm going for. There we go. You see that yellow hue in the background here? This is what we want. This is what we were looking for. Yes, Michael. Now, so, still may have to clean up some spots that look like it has some glue on it. We're going to come back, and I'm going to sand this again lightly. And Try to bring out some more grain, which is working. Sometimes you can't be afraid to experiment. You can't be afraid to get in there and get a little dirty and try it. Because this is actually looking very, very cool. Beautiful. Now do you see what look where we're going for? Isn't that amazing? Let's get some things out of the way because now we know the direction we're going. So, I hope you guys can see this. Isn't that beautiful? That's cool, right? Okay. So, at least I think it's cool. It might not be cool for everybody. Old number 47 here is doing well. Black hole sun, number 47. Okay, so we're going to sip this over on its back. We're going to peel this tape off right now. I was trying to avoid the binding, but I'm not going to worry about it. Well, we're going to have to sand it anyhow, right? Just sand it. And take this tape off, and it might not look as green as it looked before. Very cool. Okay. Very, very cool. Let's flip it over. And let's take some sandpaper and get some of this stuff that I messed up off. Okay. Now, once again, take a fresh paper towel. And we're going to start staining the back. Why am I doing it so fast? Well, because a lot of us don't have time to do things and to take a lot of time to do things. So this is why. And we like to experiment. Because again, this is espresso. And how is espresso going to take the stain? How is that going to look? Look at this, guys. What a beautiful color. Very 70s. Very beautiful. And I am happy with it. Let's get in here. Yeah, I'm a stickler for the details. Okay. Let's do our edges. And this espresso. Sir. Very unique. Very unique. Kind of reminds me of a PDP, if you guys are drummers, a PDP drum kit. Concept Maple. Kind of what it reminds me of. So there we are. So we gotta wait for this to dry, and we will continue this tomorrow. And hopefully, you guys are liking this so far. And I'll work on the neck tonight. I'll get that sanded and stained, and we'll have a ready to rock and roll guitar here pretty soon. So blink of an eye for you, and overnight for me. See you in a second. So my number 47 is drying. I went ahead and took some time to start this headstock, and I'm liking what liking the vibe it's putting down. What I've done is, as you can see, was we stained it, and I did a sanding around the edges to give it a binding look, but it's just a scuff up, and it gives it a little rustic look. We got everything else taped off because that's all we're doing, because I'm just going to have a fast neck here, and I thought you guys might appreciate that. Pretty cool, right? And matches the body. I could go a little darker on it. I may blend it out a little bit in the center. But I wanted to just touch base on that, and now it's time to set it up until morning. a little more progress before I call it quits. Cleaning up the binding a bit. We'll finish sanding the binding a little bit tomorrow. And now that it's drying, you're getting an idea of that beautiful color that's coming through. And I kind of tossed in the pickups to sit them in there so you guys could see exactly how it's going to look. And just letting it dry. I got the paper towel on the other side because I'm trying to suck out whatever impurity is on that spot. But how about that color? How about that color? Stunning to me. What a tiger stripe, right? And you can see that tobacco color now. Okay, so here we are the very next morning. Last night at about midnight, I decided to clamp on the neck. That's pretty self-explanatory, guys. I didn't have to do any shimming, so this is just a glue-in process using Gorilla wood glue. And as you can see, it's still clamped. I like to keep them clamped for about 24 hours. Some people only do it for a few hours. But as you can see, the top's turning out very nice. I still have some sanding I have to do over here. I can touch this up later. We're going to be cleaning up this binding now. And taping off the binding is something that's really hard to do. Getting a nice edge, they do actually make a special tool, but of course I'm not going to purchase it. I use a razor blade, and the binding scrapes really, really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that here. So what we do is I'm going to clean up this so we can get some really sharp edges. Just use my finger as a guide. And you'll see that that binding, you can get right up close to the wood, cleans up. So nice. You see that or not? You can see the white coming up, and that's just how I make the binding very clean to the top of the guitar. And it might take you some practice and have some patience. But this is what gives us that nice sharp edge around the guitar when we're done. And to start out with I start out with a new razor blade. Be careful, you don't want to get into the finish of the guitar. But as you can see, some spots have some stain on it, and this takes it right off because you're actually scraping the binding. I mean, the edge looks really good now. So, let's see here if I can get in. I'm going to come back here a little bit off camera, guys, so I can kind of show you. And if you get a spot that gives you a hard time, just go over it. Be very slow. That really cleans up the edge a lot. So there's a spot right here that is being difficult. And we're going to fix it and make it so it's not difficult. There we are. We have some bleed. That's where we sharpen it up, is where we have the bleed. Sometimes it takes a couple passes in a spot to get it. And this is very important for the finished product. And then we go and we do the fat side after we do the top side. And there's a lot of professionals out there that have special tools, and they do a fantastic job, and they can do this lickety split. There's people who literally do this all day long to guitars. But it's really sharpening this edge up a lot. See that coming off? So this is making it white again and smoothing it. Now what I do beforehand is I go around with a little thinner to make sure most of the stain is taken off the binding. Sanding the binding never works for me. This is the easiest. Fortunately, while I have never built a guitar before, I have worked on binding before. And if you can see the stain right in this area, there's some stain on here. And this will take it right off. And I rotate my blade around so I keep it kind of nice and sharp. If it starts getting dull on you, grab another one. But this is where the detail really shows in the finished product. And this is why I went with a binding, because it just looks so good when they're done. If I have to go over a few spots, I never start in the same spot. I always drag it back so we don't have a big indentation. Nice. And sometimes you just get on a roll and it starts going. There we go. And then we're going to run it. Same thing, right up the edge. The fretboard. And hopefully you don't catch any frets, because if you do, you need to redo your frets, because that's a good sign that your frets are not quite right yet. I don't want to scratch the fretboard for sure, but what I do want to do is make that nice and make that weight pop again. Now I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the back of the neck yet. Whether I'm going to leave it, urethane it, I'm not sure yet. So a lot of people are going, oh no, I cannot do that to my guitar. It's not that hard, just take your time. As you can see, this side is way off, so that's what I'm correcting. Decided to add a little burst in here, a little more burst. And that's what I'm doing right now. We'll sand that all in here a little bit. We're blending right now. Blend it. And hopefully it looks great when we're done. Hopefully. I'm kind of digging it. Lighter towards the center, and then we sand it down and hopefully bring back some of the yellow again. We're really getting that tobacco color. Oh yeah, very pretty. And we'll re-scrape our top edge again. I just changed it on a whim because, well, I think it's cool. Okay, so we are going to, now the guitar is not finished by any means, and I still got to scrape the binding again. I think I'm pretty happy with the finish, how it's turning out. I'm going to start test fitting stuff and getting some holes in this before we do our final finish on the guitar. So we're going to install pickups and at least get the holes drilled. Now you want to install these correctly. So you'll have one pickup ring that's fatter than the other. The thin one is the one that goes up towards the neck. So the thin edge goes towards the neck and the wire will sit on this side. And your fat, you see that your fat one, your fat edge will go towards the back side of the guitar, the base of the guitar, this way, in this manner. And the wires will be concurrent to what direction they're running through the body. So you're going to have your pickup screws up here to the top and this one to the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is run, see if we can get these wires down through these. The cavities are all drilled out, so hopefully they slide right down through easily, and they should. Slide down, and it did. Yes, there we go. Nice and easy. So now we're going to see how that pickup's going to, we want that pickup up against that neck, and it looks like it's going to sit just about where it needs to. And then we're going to take this pickup and slide it through the hole, and hopefully the other one will act kind of as a guide. And so far so good. Sometimes we have to reach on the back side and grab it, but I could see it in the cavity. So I know I'm in the cavity, so I'm going to pick the guitar up a little bit and reach in the cavity here and see if I can grab it. Here we are. Yep. And pull it right out through. And that is where I'll pull these screws out for now. And get an idea of where it's going to sit. So I'm going to turn this guitar, and I apologize that I'm all willy-nilly, but what I want to do is get an even spacing on the neck here. There we are. Make sure they're about lined up there. So I'm going to start the top one. Hopefully this screws in without too much problem. Now what I didn't drill these out because I always want these to be tight. So I'm going to try to start this without drilling it. Hope that makes sense to you guys. There we are. We always want these to remain nice and tight, and I'm not putting any pressure on the neck, just so you know it's sitting on a pad on the bottom. I'm not going to tighten that, I just kind of snugged it. Make sure we're still up against the neck. This will all come apart again shortly. But we can make sure we got everything for one. Make sure everything's there to wire it for two, and test fit everything and have all the holes pretty much ready to go after the final finish. And I know this is a long video, and I've skipped some processes because I've changed colors on this a few times, and I say changed, I've changed variations. And I did the back of the neck, which I was not going to do, but I did it, and I did it in kind of a red first, and then put an espresso over the red. Kind of matches the red that's in the burst here. Okay, so I only got one more to go, so I'm going to start tightening these down in the order, just snug in the order that I did them. Just snug. Just snug. They fit nicely. They look good. I already peeled the plastic off. If you're wondering why they got fingerprints on them, I peeled the plastic off already. Just wanted to see what they look like pretty much. We can adjust our heights on them later on. Providing the strings pass over everything. Okay. Well, that is actually looking very good. I'm impressed with that. So, normally I would take a straight edge and line these up with a straight edge, and there's a lot of room to work with, but what I'm going to do is kind of press this up to the top because it's nice and even this way, and I'm going to make sure, double check and look down upon it. Yes, about right there. Use this pick guard as a straight edge, I guess. Boom. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to start one in the same process. Wrong screwdriver though. So you don't want to drill these out. You don't, the drill can just kind of overdo it on you. You really make things difficult. Let's see, make sure we're still lined up. We are. Okay. sometimes you get gets a little iffy. But these screw in nice. They pretty much self-tap. So this is all being done mostly from the kitchen because a lot of people don't have a space or a shop. I have a shop, but I figured why not do this right here in the kitchen to show people. I'll make sure that I'm getting this straight. That is not straight. So let's get it straight. Let's get it right, Mike. Okay. A lot of times, if you want to give it a tap with a little brass hammer, you can do that to start it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. We'll wing it. There we go. I don't have this one tight over here, so it's moving around more than it should. But I'm actually going to snug these ones up. Opposite of what I did before. Don't take this as an example. And so far, we've had all the parts that we need. I thought I was missing a couple of these surround screws, but I ended up finding them. They were just in a different bag. And these parts, when I say, so the bridge is in pieces. So the intonization is, I mean, literally from scratch. You have to put the keys in. I call them keys, and put the spring in. So basically, you got to build your bridge. I'm not going to use that bridge. I might for now, but I'm going to change it out because I don't like it. They tend to rattle the way these ones are. There. And I hope you guys can see that. But what a difference, right? I mean, that's looking pretty. So, what else do we got to do? Well, we're going to do this pick guard, and hopefully I gave myself room to do it, and I did. I should have tested that first so you can learn by my mistake. But anyhow, our pick guard is going to go right there. We're going to have to drill a hole for that. There is a bracket, so we can actually take care of that right now also. A lot of people would just finish this guitar, leave it flat, and roll with it, which is a cool look, but I'm not going to do that. Let me go grab the bracket for this, and we'll get that on. So if my phone keeps beeping, I apologize, but anyhow, we got this. Here's your bracket. Simply goes on here. It's fully adjustable. You got a little screw that goes through here, and then you have a nut that goes on the other side. Normally there should be a little washer. This one does not have it, but however, we are not going to worry about it. I may end up changing these pick guards out anyhow to something a little more, and I don't want to say quality, because I mean this cream color looks good on here, It does. We'll tighten this up afterwards, so we'll get this kind of in place here. Now there's a variety of screws that come with this, and nothing is labeled. So you're going by guess where things go here. So how high do we want our pick guard? Well, kind of looks like it's going to be just below the binding right there. So I'm going to attempt to do this the same way. The thing is, we got a variety of screws. We have a lone screw right here, and we have all these variety of screws, and some of these should be for, we have our screws for the strap, and then we have a variety. We need our jack to be in place. So let me count out and see exactly what we're going to need here, because I believe that this is the screw for here. And if that's the case, I may drill this out a little bit. So let me check and count and make sure what we got, because like I said, there is literally no directions. And pay no attention to the stain on the binding. That will be getting scraped off. So unless I'm missing something, we should be okay. So this takes 4. So we'll put 4 over there. This takes 3. Put 3 there. This takes 4. And we put 4 there. And then we have 1 here, which means I need to know what this one goes to. I can't see using this long one right here unless it ever did not work. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Yes, that is the long one. So there's 2. So this will be the long one. This will be the short one. So let's set this in place here. Okay. Maybe sometimes we gotta check stuff out and make sure, right? So we take that. Start this one. I want to start it so it kind of pulls it over a little bit here. There we are. Nice to have all of our holes drilled out ahead of time, or tapped out ahead of time before clear coat. There. I think that's where that one goes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And that seems like it should have a little bit of a, I don't know. Maybe that's not the one. Let me see what we got here. Because that's, no, I guess it is. Okay. All right. Yep, that's the one. Just looked a little odd to me, looked a little big, but no, that's the one. So there we go. So that is set there. Now we just adjust. I can't wait for this thing to completely dry so we can give it a final sand and get the finish, the clear coat on it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. As far as clearing this goes, I'm hearing conflicting stories. I believe we should clear the binding also. Not on the neck, but on the body. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Yes, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now this should theoretically tighten a bit. We might have to get in there with a wrench, but you get the gist of it. How does that look, guys? Give you an idea? Not too bad, right? Okay, and like I said, there's your wires coming down into the hole. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over on its face. It's got a nice weight to this guitar too. I don't think I've mentioned the weight. It really feels like a Les Paul weight, so that's good. All right, so let's tuck those in. We're going to have to be doing wiring later on, but let's tuck those in and let's check this plate and see how it fits, or if it fits. It should be tapered. It is, and that's where that's going to go. So let's start them, and I'm going to start across from each other. Let's start them. You know what I could do if this bit works? Make things life easier. This may make life a bit easier. You don't want to over tighten, so we'll set it to its minimum setting. And let's go for it. Kind of line it up here. Kind of where it goes. Say kind of where it goes. Man, I don't want to scratch my guitar. Hold on. But we don't have a level surface on the other side. I might have to do this by hand. I could. I know what we're going to do. Let's do the same thing we did with the big hole and make a little pilot. Just a starting point, starting reference point. That way we know everything's going to fit right and correct. So now theoretically this should go in. Yes. Now we can change it out and put our regular bit on. Do I suggest doing it this way? No, I would do it by hand if I was you, but we're not each other, and that's why, because it's slipped. Like that. And these are just going to have to come right back out anyhow, because we're going to have to do some wiring, but I believe that's so much better. Just gentle, as they say. There we go, and that's what I did with the neck, in case you guys are wondering. There you are. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Still got a blemish in the top, and I can't get rid of it. I can't sand it out without going through the veneer. It's a flaw. that obviously was on the guitar, and that's over here. But it's a characteristic, so we're going to keep it. Other than that, everything's going pretty smooth. Now, let's try this. If we can get you still in focus here, guys. This is Jack, and this is going to curve that way, I believe. Yes, just like that. So let's kind of start this. I hope that's the way. And there's that one. Beautiful. Immediately I'm going to cross it up here to make sure that the other ones just line up. The hard part of this build is going to be, I say a hard part, the finishing it sucks, but the hard part's going to be, I don't know if it's how hard it is, but getting the screwing in the bridge and the saddle, because there's no holes for it. I got to drill out for the bridge and saddle, which is kind of crazy, right? And all this stuff. Keep in mind, this is all coming apart again. So I'm just tapping out the holes. There we go. And now we have that. And like I said, pay no attention to the stain on the binding. That will be getting taken care of. Okay, so there we go. Now, we need to put on our sling mounts, and I think these insulation things go on the inside like this. I'm pretty sure it goes like this. So let me do a little bit of research to make sure I'm putting these on properly, and the location is proper, and I will be right back. So we got one strap button on, and simple, really fast. I just wanted to make sure it was in the right location. About this area right here, just wanted to make sure. And I don't know if this is where the Les Paul original ones go. I believe it is, but we're just going to do a dead center. Definitely dead center of the guitar. So I'm just going to, dead center would be right here. I'll mark it in the center. I'm going to say I'm going to go by the flame top so it's aesthetically correct. And I put a little mark right there. And now I know where it's going to go. So let me find my screws, wherever they may be. And we'll put this button on. There it is. So far, so good. And I'm going to have to lower this a bit. And bring it back so I can get the drill on. You guys probably can't see this, but I got the drill. Maybe you can. You'll see here in a second. Right dead center. Right dead center. And I'm not putting much pressure on it. Beautiful. And there that is. Strap button installed. And strap button installed. So it's becoming a guitar now. And that's the cool part. Still a lot of finishing and wiring to do. But it's looking pretty cool. We still have to drill out for our tuners. Let me cut and come back and we'll get started on that. Okay, we're going to install the tuners. Now, I'm not going to use the tuners that came with it. I have some Geikers that I'm going to use. So, let's install these. And get them kind of in place where we want them. And we'll line them all up, make sure everything looks good. Just so our holes are there once again. And as you can see, I got these nice brass washers that are really going to set it off on the other side. Let's get these all on there. Then we can, there's nothing worse than willy-nilly tuners. Let's start them, and then we'll screw them in and make it pretty. I won't bore you with this. I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, they're all willy-nilly. Now, what you're going to want to do, normal size on the other side is usually a 10 mil. And you want to go down the other side, tighten them up, snug them. It's going to make your life a lot easier in the back when you get ready to put your screws in. Snug them up so they're not moving all over on you. And then we can align these things. Now, a lot of people align these in different ways. I like them perfectly straight up and down. So that's what I am going to do. So I'm going to move this guitar so I can get a good bird's eye view of it here as I drop the tool here. But I want a good bird's eye view and kind of get it where I think it looks right now. I can tell that these holes weren't drilled perfectly across from each other, which always sucks. But I've seen worse. So I guess we could do it the Gibson way, but no, let's I just want them straight. Let's put them straight with each other. That's what we want to do. I'm going to grab a straight edge to make sure they're as close as possible to up and down. That's actually not bad right there. I'm sorry you can't see me. I can turn you now though. Put you here where you can see me. And there we are. Let me grab a straight edge. Okay, so what I want to do is just make sure they're straight with each other. Now, they're not going to be perfectly lined up because, well, the headstock's not perfectly lined up. There is a gap or a space, if you will. And that bottom one needs to straighten out a touch with the top. There we go. And now that's not looking too bad right there. So now we're going to put our screws in. And you'll have to bear with me because this is maybe a slow process. I don't want to put any undue stress on the neck doing this. And once you do this, there's no going back. So I'm going to look at it and see if I'm happy with it. And I don't think I am. I think sometimes you have to split the difference on things to give you, there we go. There's that one. Looks a lot better. I have seen a lot worse than this, and that's the truth, and I'm sure you guys have too. So, but I'm gonna have to push down on this neck, and I don't like doing that, but we do what we got to do. There is one, and I'm hoping this doesn't poke through the other side. That'd be horrible, right? It won't. It was one snug, not tight. Snug, not tight. Okay, and so snug, not tight. I'm gonna have to put these in, and I gotta shut the camera off because, or stop it for a second, guys, because I gotta rearrange. So I'm on the last two, and I'm gonna give you guys a little tip that I've learned. When you start it out, put it on your screwdriver. Give it a good, get it where you need it. Okay, make sure you're still kind of level where you need to be down through there. Give it a good push down, and it's in that soft wood. That's fine, before you start it. And when you start this, do not bottom it out and do not tighten it. Because what that does is it'll draw your tuning peg over to whatever side. Even though you're straight, the force will draw it down. So when it just starts to touch the base of the tuning key, like right there, that's when you stop. So we got one more to put on, and I need to find the screw. I have more screws. I just wanted to use a particular one. There it is, right there. Okay. So once again, I double check, and as you can see, that's pretty well lined up. And I put it where it needs to go. Give it a press. Hand on one side of the other side of the stock. Give it a press. And we start to tighten it. It draws itself in. Make sure you're straight, not up and down because you're coming at an angle, but straight with it going straight into the headstock. There we go. Now we flip it over, and as you can see, there's the brass I was telling you about. There. No, I haven't done the nut yet. The nut's pretty simple. As long as it's a decent nut, it should be pretty simple. So I'm going to come through here, give these by hand a good snug with a 10 mil. Make sure they're snug. There we are. Now, let's move on to the nut. So, we're all over the place here. And must be we did the neck right because it ain't going nowhere. I've been grabbing it by it all day. Okay. So, here's the nut. Obviously, a plastic nut. It seems like it's gauged out pretty good. And I want to see how it fits. And surprisingly, it is the right size. Wow. And very close to the right height. However, I will give it a little bit of a sand because it'll help the glue stick. So place this on a flat surface, like so. Just give it a little sand on the bottom. I'm not gauging it, guys, so I know a lot of you would gauge it, but it looks really close to me. And that looks actually really good. So, I take my sandpaper, come in here, do the same thing. Now, there's little holes right here. And a lot of people don't realize this. I had a buddy show me this. Some of these, there's holes. These holes is where you put your glue. So you're not getting it all over. So I'm going to go over here. You could use wood glue if you wish. I'm going to use some clear Gorilla Glue and be done with it. I get the top off. It's proper and even on the fretboard. Yes. It actually sits actually pretty nice. I'm going to sand one more part here real quick. There we are. Don't take much to sand these. Very good. I want this perfect. So, hopefully this glue comes out here. Come on, Gorilla. I will be patient. I don't want this so strong that you never can get it off. A lot of people do that. Where those holes are, and it puts the barrier, don't need a lot, puts the barrier where those holes are, so when it pops off, those three, when you need to get your nut off, those three spots, a lot of people use wood glue and 50% water too, by the way, that works. Sit that on there. Make sure it's flush, and that was what I didn't tell you guys, it is flush on each side, so they did make it correctly. Very, very cool. Yes, indeed. So that should be all that it takes. Right there. pretty. I know. Nothing pretty about it. But it is now level what each side should be. Yes, there we are. Wonderful. And I can tell through the tape that it's right. Okay. I'm not going to go crazy sticking this on with the tape, guys. But our nut is now on. And we're turning into a guitar. I am not doing this truss rod cover, so we don't have to worry about that. Next thing we'll do is install the switch, which I believe is over here someplace. If I am not mistaken. Yes, there it is. There's our switch. So, simple, just test fitting. Rhythm in trouble. Okay. So we can take this and pop this right, should go right up through. Oh, I can't, we got the cover on. We're gonna have to wait on that. Listen, let's let that nut dry up and then we'll start wiring this thing up. And at least mock wire it up so we know we got everything before we get this thing off to clear coat.